Well, in today's class, I'll explain how to apply the law of sines and cosines to find the missing sides and angles of a triangle. Actually, in the previous two sessions, I explained that uh, in one session, I explained how to use the cosine rule and how to use the sine rule in the other session. But in today's class, I'm going to mix both. So let's quickly revisit what is the sine rule and what is the cos rule. Let me rewrite again. Here, the sine rule says that, first of all, please remember that the sides of the triangle are indicated by lowercase letters and the angles are labeled with uppercase letters. You see that the angles are labeled with uppercase letters. Now, the rule is A over sine A. Please remember lowercase letter indicates that that's the side. B over sine B equals to C over sine C. In fact, while solving the problems, if the unknown value is in the denominator, it is difficult to compute. So in such case, you are free to switch these values, that is denominator to numerator and numerator to denominator, which means you may take sine A in the numerator and lowercase a in the denominator. Likewise, you may take sine B. Please notice that I am switching numerator and denominator in all the three fractions. Sine C over C. So you may make use of this technique anyhow while explaining the problems. Maybe one or two examples I'll try to give. And let's see what is the cosine rule. Cosine rule is, before going to the rule, as I mentioned before, the lowercase letters, we use them for indicating the sides, and the uppercase letters we use for naming the angles. This is what already I discussed. The side opposite to angle A is lowercase a. The side opposite to angle B, you see that is small b, and so on. The condition is C square equals to A square plus B square minus 2AB. I personally prefer to use a separate parenthesis for writing cos C. Here, only the last part contains the angle, and remaining part of this rule, all A, B and C, these represents the sides. In fact, that is very, very important to remember. Why, I'll tell you. Let's go to the next page. There are two questions. Determine whether law of cosine or the law of sine is the best choice. So, what to use? See, in the previous sessions, one session I dedicated for teaching law of cosine, another session for teaching law of sines. If these are mixed, if the questions are mixed, which rule or which law you have to take means there is a technique. If you go for testing, then suppose if you are given a question, then how to identify which law is to be used means I see that x is an angle, 112 is another angle, and 25 is one side and 12 is another side. So here I see that two sides and two sides and two angles are given. Let's take the next question. Let me mark the angle with the red color, and 16 is the side of a triangle. This is side of a triangle, and this is also side of a triangle. Let's say that x value is to be computed, but still there are three sides and one angle is associated. In question 1, two sides and two angles. Now, let's analyze and solve. Just a moment, please. Let me clear some part of this one. Okay. So, we have two rules. First rule is, let me write sine rule. It is, the first one is A over sine A equals to B over sine B equals to C over sine C. And the second rule is, already I copied earlier, C square equals to A square plus B square minus 2AB times cos C. In fact, you know both these rules. Here, please notice that the numerator indicates that sides, right? So how many sides are there means, actually in my previous session also I mentioned that you are expected to take only two fractions. Suppose if one of them is dropped, let's assume that one of them is dropped. So how many sides are there means, I see that two sides are there, two sides and two angles. Does it make sense? So here I'm taking, if I take sine rule, then two sides and two angles, right? So if you are given a question, with two sides and two angles, then you have to take sine rule. Now, coming to the next one, C square, A square, B square, you know that this small a, small b, small c, these all represents the sides. Therefore, three sides and cos C. I see that here only one angle is given. Okay, let's analyze once again. If one angle is given and three sides, so three sides and one angle, this combination is given, then you have to take cosine rule, and if you are given two sides and two angles, then you have to go for sine rule. Okay, now questions on this, please. You may type in the comment box. So now, first question, state whether the law of sine or law of cosine, blah, 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 these things already we had a discussion. By the way, let me erase some part of this one. Of course, A over sine A is also is supposed to be, but for our comfort, just I'm deleting this part. I mean, I'm erasing this part. So, question 1. Look at question 1. What do you think? Is it sine rule or cosine rule? Let me repeat my question. If you are taking question 1, are you going to use sine rule or cosine rule? Think for a moment. So, the first question, which rule we have to use means the correct answer is sine. The correct answer is sine. why we have to use sine rule to solve the first question means the reason is there are two sides and two angles are given. So keeping that one in view, then we have to use sine rule. And look at question 2. Do we have to use sine rule or cos rule? Think for a moment. Look at the question carefully. The second one is cos rule or cosine rule, because I see that three sides are given and an angle is given, therefore we go with the cosine rule. So let's experiment more questions of this kind in the next page. Just I'm marking some sides and angles. I see that one angle and two angles are given, and I see that two sides are given. Two sides are given here. Let's go. Oh, my apologies. The same question. My apologies. So let me go to the next page. I'm sorry for that. So here I see that an angle is given. Let it be x. And here I see that three sides are given. Three sides are given. Therefore, do I have to use sine or cos for this one? Think for a moment. Here we are going to use cosine. Please remember, three sides and an angle is given, then you have to use the cosine formula. Okay, so let me write law of cosine. Law of cosine. So actually you are asked to find which is the best choice, whether it is sine rule or cosine, and then you are asked to just plug in or substitute the values. So let me write what is law of cosine. C square equals to a square plus b square minus 2ab times cos c. This is the rule. So I see that angle is missing. So if I consider that one as C, the side opposite to this one, the side opposite to C, let me not confuse you much. So let me mark this as C, and the other two are A and B. So what is side C means, that is the side opposite to angle C. So C square, which means, let me take 30 square here, equals to, what is A value means the side opposite to angle A, which is 55 square. What is B square means the side opposite to angle B is that is side B, which is 37 square, 2 times A value, B value, I know. This one times cos C. Cos, what is the value of C means it is x. So how to solve that, we'll do it later, because the question says that do not solve. So I'm not solving. Now let's go to the next question. Next question. First of all, let me identify what I've given. I see that two sides 56 and x are given, and two angles are also given. So what to do? What to do? Think for a moment. Think for a moment, and you may type your response. Yes, here we have to use, two sides and two angles are given means, then we have to use sine. My bad, in the previous one I forgot to write it's cosine. Once when you identify that, then you may write the rule. I see that here, let me label this as A, B, and C. Okay, so A over sine A equals to B over sine B equals to C over sine C. Anyhow, how to solve that we'll discuss later. The side opposite to angle A, that is small a, therefore x over sine, what is the value of the angle means you see that it is 100 degrees, therefore sine 100. B means small b means the side opposite to angle B, which is 56 over sine, what is the value of the angle? 42. Anyhow, you know that you are expected to take only two fractions, not all the three. Then how to solve this one? Then we'll discuss in the next questions. Well, now let me take you to the next page. Okay. Well, in this question, you are asked to find the value of BC. So if I were you, then I mark this one as X, and let me use the same technique, that is how many angles are given and how many sides are given. That's what I have to check. Then I'm using a different color code. Okay, so I see that two angles and two sides are given. Let it be X, one of them. That is still, that's fine. So two sides and two angles means two sides and two sides and two angles. Then I have to use sine rule. So what is sine rule means? It is a over sine A equals to b over sine B equals to C over sine C. Let's plug in the values. What is side A means the side opposite to angle A, which is X over sine A means what is the value of angle A means you see that is 61 equals to what is B. You know, B is not given. Okay. This is one of the important points that you have to remember. In a triangle, if two angles are given, you may find the third angle also. That helps you to solve the problems easily. So I see that one angle is 61 degrees and the second angle is 30 degrees. So these two together, that gives me 91. And if you take away from 180, you'll end up with 89. Anyhow, how to find the third angle, I need not explain much, but I expect you to know this one. So this is 89. So what is side B means, which is opposite to angle B. So it is given as 8 units. And what is sine B means? It is sine 89 degrees. Okay. And there is nothing to do with C because the side is not given. Therefore, I am leaving that. As you know that while computing, we have to take only two fractions, not all the three. Now, let's plug in these values. X over sine 61. I'm making use of my TI-84 calculator, and you may take maybe Desmos and you can try it. So let's take what is sine 61. That's giving me 0.8746 equals to 8 over what is sine 89. Sine 89 0.999. You know how to isolate the variable. So in order to cancel out, we multiply 0.8746 on both the sides. 0.8746. You know, the trick is you have to identify which rule to use. Once when you get it, then it's easy. Let me take 8 divided by 0.8746. 0.999, the result is to be multiplied by 0.8746. So it is 7.003. That's the value of the x. So anyhow, this is an easy question. So let me jump to the next page for another question. Okay, in this question, you are asked to find the value of angle A. Well, let me consider this as x degrees. As I mentioned before, uh, I see that two angles are involved and two angles and two sides. Therefore, I think it would be better until you get a clear cut idea. Let me write that two angles and two sides, oops, two sides. Therefore, what I have to take means, think for a moment, it is sine. Therefore, let me write the sine rule A over sine A, then B over sine B, C over sine C. So the side opposite to angle A, I see that it is 25 units. That is 25 units. 25 over what is sine A means it is sine x degrees. Then B over sine B means I see that B value is 28 over sine B means sine 62. As I mentioned before about C, neither the angle is given nor the side is given. So just we may drop this fraction. Now, uh, especially if you have to figure out what is the value or the missing values in the denominator, trust me, it leads to confusion. It leads to confusion. In such case, if the missing value or if you have to find something which is in the denominator, in such case, I recommend you to switch the numerator to denominator and denominator to numerator. That makes your job easier, or else you can go for cross multiplication. In such case, if I switch, then sin x go to numerator over 25 equals to sine 62. Of course, I have to take the value sine 62 degrees, which is 0.8829. So just straight away I'm writing what is the value of sine 62 in the numerator as 0.8829. So 0.8829. I used my calculator and 28 goes to the denominator. Now here onwards, how to isolate the variable means we have to go for inverse operation, which is multiplying on 25. So when I multiply this way, I get that sine x equals to, let me 0.8829 divided by 28, and the result is multiplied by 25.7883. 0.7883. In my previous class also I mentioned that if you are trying to figure out what is the angle, then if you are moving x value to the other side, again I'm repeating, if you are finding the angle, and for that you have to move this one to the other side and you have to move this number to this side. When you do this jugglery, then you have to take inverse. Sine inverse 0.7883 equals to x. That means we are trying to find the value of x, which is an angle. So I'm taking my calculator. You may make use of Desmos. Already several times I explained how to find the angle and Desmos. So this one is sine inverse, then 0.7883 7883, my bad, it is 83 equals to 52.02. So the value of the angle is 52.02 degrees. Okay, anyhow, it's a straight question, so let me go to the next page for a different question. Here I see that two angles are given. One is here and this is the second one, and next one side is given. The question is find the fencing. Fencing means you have to put all around. So this value you have to find, even this value also you have to compute. So let's assume that this is to be computed. Now I see that two sides and two angles, right? Therefore, two sides and two angles means you know that you have to use the sine rule, law of sine, right? Therefore, it is A over sine A, then B over sine B equals to C over sine C. So let's plug in these values. A means the side opposite to A. It's not given. So let me drop this part. Here, the side opposite to B is 300 over, what is sine B means? It is sine angle B is 27. Next, coming to C, so C is, you see that it is x. Therefore, x over, what is sine C means? Sine 114. Okay. This question has two parts. That's the reason I'm spending much time on this. So let me plug in these values. 300 over, what is sine 27 means? I'm making use of my calculator. Sine 27, which is 0.4539 equals to x over sine 14. So what is sine? My apologies, it is 114. Then it is 0.9135. 0.9135. Then you know how to isolate x value. So I have to multiply on both these sides 0.9135, 0.9135. So once this one gets cancelled, then let me compute by using my calculator. 300 divided by 0.4539, the result is to be multiplied by 0.91. Oh, my apologies. Yeah, it's correct only, 9135. I'm doing good. So 9135 is 603. Therefore, we got 603 point, but just I dropped the decimal value, 603.76. That's the value of x. So just let me write that it is 603.76. As I mentioned before, if two angles of a triangle are given, then you can compute what is the third angle. Sum of three angles of a triangle is 180. Therefore, let me add 27 and 114 degrees. That is giving me 141. So what is the third angle means? It is going to be 39 degrees. Why I computed means because if the farmer is planning to put a fencing, then he should know all the three sides. So far, we know two sides. We know this side, and what is the third side means. Again, you have to compute. Now, this time, let me take this as y. So, how to compute means I know two sides. And I know two angles. This is one angle and this is the second angle. So two sides, two angles. Again, you have to use sine rule to figure it out, the value of y. Once when you get it, then sum of these three sides that gives you the boundary or the fencing of the land. So, the field, right? So let's go to the next question really quick. Well, in this question, diagram is not given. I see that John and Rose are standing at the seashore 12 miles apart. So, let me draw a figure here. Here is John. Here is John. And on the other side, Rose is standing here. Rose is standing here. They are standing on the seashore. So here is the sea. Here is the sea. And the coastline is a straight line between them. And the distance between them, I see that it is 12 miles. 12 miles. Okay. Both can see the same ship in water. So let me draw a ship somewhere here. It looks like a small boat, but please excuse me. Let's assume that this is a ship. Both can see the same ship in the water. The angle between the coastline and the line between the ship and John is 41 degrees. So the angle between John and the ship is given as 41 degrees. So let me write this one as 41 degrees. The angle between the coastline and the line between the ship and the rose is 39. So this is 39 degrees. And the question is, how far is the ship from John? So the question is, what is the value of this one? Once when you write all these things, see that two angles are given and one side is given and you are asked to find the second side. You know that two sides and two angles, two sides and two angles. Which law do I have to use? Think for a moment, is it sine or cosine? Is it sine or cosine? Here, we have to use the sine rule, two sides, two angles. Please remember we have to use the sine rule. Okay. Now, the rest is left to you. You know how to write the rule and how to solve it. So, the rest of the question is left to you to solve it on your own. Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to send an email to me. I'll respond to you. Okay.